Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
All right, everybody, welcome to You as a Whole, Body, Mind, and Soul. I'm Justin MIRIGLIANI on USA Global TV and Radio. It's an honor to be here again, another Monday night. It's amazing how fast they come. These weeks go by so quickly, and it's just amazing. Tonight is a topic that I've been thinking about a lot, and it's become more poignant over the last several months, and then especially this evening, and it's vulnerability. And one of the things that I've mentioned to this audience many, many times is that I go to bed every night listening to podcasts about how to be stoic, how to present yourself, how to maintain confidence, how to handle problems, how to be in control of your emotions and not let your emotions control you. And I buy into a lot of it, but I don't buy into everything. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what I don't buy into. And it goes back to the show that we did before. It's so frustrating when you get somebody who is accomplished, who says something that is out of the norm, and then you're not sure because they are accomplished. For instance, I saw an interview, just as just an example for the body. I also obviously lift weights, bodybuild, power lift. And I saw a video with, I think it was Mr. USA. I can't even remember who it is now, Mr. Universe or whatever. And he said something that was just really out of the ordinary. He said, no human being should ever deadlift. That's the worst lift you could do. You're not meant to be that way. You're human. Human beings aren't meant to lift that way. And the deadlift has been around for hundreds of years, probably, or at least over 100 years. I mean, if not closer to 200 years. It's been around for a very long time. And it's a staple of bodybuilding and powerlifting. And it's one of the competition events in powerlifting. The three events are bench press, squat, and deadlift. So he's saying never deadlift. He said it's a stupid thing to do. You should never do it. Now, this is an expert. This is Mr. USA or whatever he was. I can't remember, or Mr. Universe, whatever. So it's very difficult because you hear somebody like that who's that accomplished, and it's hard to argue with somebody who's got that those kinds of credentials. The shows on the podcasts that I listen to, some of them are literally 7 hours long. So I go to bed and I put them on, and they're not done until I wake up in the morning. I don't get them all. I fall asleep obviously during some of them, and I wake up different bits and pieces, and I listen to them as much as I can. And one of the things that they talk about again is vulnerability, and one of my friends, I was talking to him. He's been divorced for about 2.5 years, and he's got a dating profile. And on his dating profile, he mentioned that he's a sensitive guy and this and that. And one of the things that I noticed is a lot of, and I'm not saying all females, but a lot of the females that he pop up on his profile say they want somebody who is in control, somebody who's confident, somebody who's got it all together. And do we really all have it all together? I mean, is that really what a realistic? When I hear somebody say, oh, the dating scene is terrible and these dating sites are terrible, and they're because you can't find anybody who is always in control. Well, no, you can't. You can't find somebody who's always in control. You're always going to have so vulnerability is that much of a turnoff? So these stoic human, stoic life, it's all about stoicism. And it's about how, for women, it would be a turnoff if you're vulnerable or if you cry or if you do that. And I would like to know if that's true. I mean, is that really what women want? Do women want a guy who, or does a guy want a woman who doesn't show emotion, that has no emotion whatsoever, that feels that they don't cry or they don't let loose and they don't get angry or they don't lose it once in a while. I, I don't think that person really exists unless you're an automaton. I think that that's something that is endearing to me. So would I be ashamed to let a woman see me cry or break down over something sad or over something that's painful? I mean, look, in the last several weeks, well, now months, um, I have a marriage ending after 20 years of marriage and 23 years of a relationship. That's hard to do. That's hard to accept. That's hard to get through. And I know it's hard for Amy too. Uh, and also, I lost my uncle within 2 weeks of the separation. That was another blow that was really tough to take. And then I got some other bad news about a family member, and that was tough to take. That was hard to take. And then right before this show, ironically, I got a message from a friend who has a debilitating disease that I didn't know about, and he told me, and he's a good friend of mine. And 45 minutes before the show, I was slumped in tears and crying. I mean, and angry, and just thinking, this is just so much on my plate, so much to take, a lot of pain, a lot of loss in a very short amount of time. And it's the holidays, so it's a little more acute than it would be normally. And I thought to myself, if there's a woman out there that would want to be with me, and she said, boy, you don't have it all together because you let these things get you down. I'm not saying you stay down. I'm not saying that you give up and that you just roll over and die. But to have moments of vulnerability, I think, are normal. I think they are important to have, and I would hope that people would be mindful of that, especially on the dating scene. So when I talk to, and I'm not really dating now because I am still married, and the relationship is not legally ended. But uh, the friend of mine who has this dating site, you know, he's a sensitive guy too. He's somebody who has moments when he's down and has moments when he's not feeling good. And when I remember when he went through his divorce and him crying over it and him being upset. And is that really a turnoff? I mean, ladies out there, men out there, are you, especially ladies though? I think men are okay with women crying, but I think it's more taboo for men to cry or men to be vulnerable or scared. I mean, do you think we don't get scared? Really? I mean, if you're looking for a guy who doesn't ever get scared, who doesn't ever have moments of dread or moments of feeling like he's lost or moments that he's feeling sadness or just doesn't feel like as confident as he would like to be, sure. I mean, you can't expect that from anybody. And I think that that's part of the problem with online dating, from what I've seen, from what I've been shown, is that a lot of the profiles say you're looking for a guy who's got it all together. Well, guess what? Not nobody has it all together. Nobody has it all together. It's like saying, I want to find somebody who's perfectly healthy, has no illnesses whatsoever. Everybody gets sick. There's nobody who doesn't catch a cold. There's nobody who goes through life unscathed. There's nobody who goes through life and doesn't cry and doesn't have pain and doesn't suffer loss and doesn't suffer setbacks and losses in business and anything else and struggle with confidence. And the difference is you got to find. I would hope that's endearing to people. Like I've seen, um, just recently with the tragedy with the Gaudreau family, Johnny and Matty Gaudreau. I never got to meet them. I know a lot of NHL players. I know a lot of people in the NHL community, and they're good, honest, solid people. They're really good people. And what if anybody doesn't know the story, they were in New Jersey getting ready for the season in August. They were riding their bikes on a highway, not a highway, but a major road, and they were on the side of the road on the shoulder. And a careless drunk driver ran them over and killed both kids. I mean, when I say kids, they were in their 20s. I'm closing in on 50, so to me, they're kind of young. Um, Although it's hard to believe sometimes that I'm not still 26. Sometimes I feel like I am, but they were in their 20s, 26, I think, and 24. And it was unbelievably sad. I mean, it was just dreadfully sad that these two lives were snuffed out like they were. And both of their wives were pregnant at the time of the accident. I think one gave birth already and the other one's still pregnant. And I remember watching their father and seeing him slumped in tears. And this is a strong hockey player. He's a hockey coach. He's a hockey player. His name is Guy Gaudreau. He played in the early 80s, and I don't think he ever made the NHL, but he played high level hockey. And he's a good coach. He probably could coach in the NHL. Tough as nails. He's not the kind of guy that's just going to roll over and die. But at the moment, at the funeral, when they televised the funeral and they live streamed it, he was devastated. I mean, he was slumped in tears, and he couldn't walk. His wife and his daughter-in-laws, both daughter-in-laws, were helping him walk to get to the outside of the church. And there's a moment where he puts his hand on the hearse where the two sons' bodies were as they were being driven away, and he's obviously just it was very, very sad. It's not something you want to see, but at the same time, there's did I see him less of a man because of that? I actually saw him more of a man because of that. What I wanted to do is jump through the TV and just grab him and give him a hug. I just had this feeling of, geez, I wish I could just do something to help ease this guy's pain. And I don't know him. I've never met him before. And I hope someday, when all the smoke clears, this happened in August. It's been a while, but maybe in the fall, I know his address, and I'd like to stop by and give him a mass card and he and his wife, and just to offer my condolences, because I think that's when it hurts the most. I think it hurts the most when the all of the work is done, the funeral is done, and all of the burial and the cleaning out of the house, and the um all the work that goes into what has to happen after somebody dies, the legal stuff that goes into it. Once that's over and that's all finished, then the reality is when it sets in that in his case, my two sons are not coming back. And one was an NHL All-Star, Johnny Gaudreau. He possibly could have been a Hall of Famer. He was close. He's on the bubble. But he might have been if he continued to go on the same trajectory as he had been on. And Matty was not an NHL player, but he was a great coach around here. He played high level hockey. He played for Boston College, and was a Division I hockey player, and a father. And it's a tremendous tragedy. But do we look at somebody like that and say, wow, he wasn't stoic. He didn't hold it in. And that's where, to me, I wouldn't even want a female companion who would be turned off by that. If that's something that would be a turn off, then to me, that's not a person that you want to be with. I think that's real confidence. I think real confidence is the fact that you can show that you're vulnerable at times and you can be beaten down, but you could come back. Now, I'm not saying that it's okay to quit. I'm not saying that if something terrible happens, a tragedy happens, that you just give up and say, that's it, my life's over. I understand that that's not acceptable, and that's something that nobody would value as a positive trait. But like a boxer, if a boxer gets punched in the jaw and goes down, he's got 10 seconds to get up. So give the people 10 seconds to get up. Don't count them out after they hit the ground, because they might come back and win the fight. So why are you going to label somebody uh, based on momentary lapses of confidence or momentary lapses of composure? I talk to my therapist about this all the time. There again, I see a therapist. I mean, yeah, how many people does that put off? You know what? Everybody should be seeing a therapist. There's not one person. We all go to our GP. We all go to some sort of doctor at some point. Do we think the head is different? Do we think that somehow the brain is doesn't count as a body part? That doesn't count as a body part that needs to be looked after, needs to be healthy, that needs to be checked to make sure that it's working properly? Why is that different? Why is it different? If somebody has diabetes or somebody has depression, why is it different? They're diseases. Now, obviously, the diseases are different diseases. I'm not saying that, and they do different things, but they're not. They're both diseases. They're not choices that people make. People don't decide to be depressed or decide to be fearful or whatever, and they work on it. And I think that's where we're missing the boat sometimes. And yeah, stoicism is good. I mean, being able to control yourself. I'm not saying that you can lose control and do whatever you want. If somebody cuts you off in traffic, you can't jump out of your car and rip their door off and beat them to a pulp. You can't do stuff like that. You go to jail, which you rightfully should if you do something like that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's okay to have moments where you don't have control. And if you're looking for somebody who doesn't ever lose control, and within reason, where they cry or they get into a rage but don't hurt anyone or don't destroy things, but they're angry, or if they destroy something, it's something small, like I don't know. Earlier today, when I found out about my friend, I grabbed my glasses and took them off my face and threw them across the room, and they might have broken, and if they did, they did. I didn't care at the time. Is that a violent act? No, I mean, that was just, I was sad, I was frustrated, I was thinking about the losses that I've been facing over this past several months, and at some point it just gets you down. But I said, look, I got a show to do later on tonight, and I'm going to do the show, and I'm going to get through the show. And if I cried during the show, I cried during the show, and if I don't, I don't. And I'm not going to make myself cry, and I'm not going to make myself not cry. If it happens, it happens. But we're looking for people to be more than what they can be, especially. And I don't want to be sexist about this, but I think it hurts men more than it hurts women. These podcasts say that, if you want to attract a woman, really the main way to do it is to show that you're always in control. Come on. I mean, women out there watching, do you really think that we're always in control, men? Any man? Sure, we're going to show you our best when we go out on a date or when we're with you in a social situation. We're not going to show you the vulnerability like that. But don't you think that there are any times that there is vulnerability? Don't you think that there are nights where men look at the ceiling and wonder, oh my gosh, what's coming up tomorrow? What do I have to do? Or I'm worried about this, or how am I going to pay for college, or whatever it is, if you have kids, or uh, diseases. When I was sick with colitis, do you think I always felt great about it? Do you think I was constantly confident? No, I was worried about a lot of things. I was worried about the colitis getting worse. I was worried about getting colon cancer, and I almost did, and wound up having the surgery to save myself from colon cancer. Was that unfounded worry? No, no, that was normal worry. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, did it affect my everyday life? Did I still go to work? Yes. Did I play sports? Yes. Did I lift weights? Yes, when I could, when I felt healthy enough. And now I am healthy and able to do all those things with no problem. And that's the difference. That's the difference. But getting back to my psychologist, one of the things that he said was, what you see on Facebook is everybody's giving you their best life. They're showing you exactly what they want you to see. And if anybody follows me on Facebook, I am so brutally honest with what I talk about on Facebook. I talk about the negatives, and it's calculated. It's not an accident. I don't do it because I want sympathy. I don't do it for attention. I don't do it to impress anyone. That's not what the reason is. I do it because nobody else does. And I want people to see that even when people look like they're got everything together, there's still times where they don't. And I don't care who they are. Serena Williams, one of the greatest tennis players of all time, suffers from depression. I mean, she's a woman. She's a strong woman. She's a great athlete and very accomplished, suffers from depression. So, people look at me sometimes and they'll say, wow, you have your own business, you have your own charity, you're friends with influential people, you're always smiling, you've been working for yourself since 2002, you got everything going for you. So you must always be happy. No, no. Or you must always feel like you're always accomplished, that you got everything you need, you got everything. No, that's not how it works. Don't you think I worry about whether a company might say, look, we don't need any more training, and I lose a client? Sure, I do. I worry about that. Do I worry about the future and what will happen with retirement, and what will happen, if with college payments and two daughters who potentially will get married, and I'll have to pay for two weddings? And yeah, those things weigh on my mind. I don't make millions of dollars a year. I'm not super rich. I'm doing all right, but I'm not, you know, I'm middle class America like everybody else, pretty much. I'm like 90 some percent of us, right? So I guess they say money can't buy happiness, but I guess if you're in the top 1 percentile, maybe it makes life a little easier. Oh, okay. Hello, Sally James on Instagram. Thank you. So, hey, Sally, thanks for watching. I really appreciate you joining in, watching the show with us. Thank you so much. So there's Sally there. Anybody wants to type in, you're more than welcome to. You could ask any questions you want, and I'll be happy to field anything you want. But it's concerning to me because I think it's a letdown to not only the men but the women as well, because the men feel like they can never measure up, right? And when you see a profile where a woman says, "Well, if you don't have it all together and you can't handle everything, then I don't want you." And these women are looking for Superman who could handle everything, and they're going to be disappointed because they're not going to find it. You're not going to find that super person because they're going to have their own flaws. They're going to have their own issues. Let people be people. So this whole idea of we got to present ourselves as totally confident. Am I confident in myself? If you ask me, am I confident in myself? Right now, I am very confident in myself. Yes, and it's not being cocky. It's not being arrogant. I feel like I can do a lot of things well. Now, can I do a ton of things well? No. I have made it a priority in my life to be good at 5 or 6 different things, and that's it. But beyond those things, I'm out. Right. So I'm good at training. That's what I do for a living. If I wasn't good at it, the business wouldn't have grown. So there's proof that I've done that well. And I'm not just blowing my horn. And I do I think a good job of broadcasting because I learned, I was taught, I was the voice of our college basketball team at Cabrini College at the time and became Cabrini University, and then it was taken over by Villanova. But I was in communications. I had my own radio show, so broadcasting. I wanted to be good at that, and I think I am. I think I've mastered broadcasting. Dr. JACALYN has helped me become a better listener, and you should take her listening classes to become a better listener. I think I'm good at that. Uh, hockey. I'm very knowledgeable. Not that it matters to most people who aren't, unless you're a hockey fan, but I'm a big hockey fan, and I watch that. Victor Warrior 108, thank you for watching on Instagram. We really appreciate it. So thank you for being a part of the show here tonight. So yeah, I mean, I'm good at hockey. I know a lot about kinesiology, movement, and weightlifting and nutrition because it's a hobby of mine. I know a lot about weather. Now, I'm not a professional meteorologist, and I'm not a meteorologist at all, but I have more knowledge than the average person because I enjoy it. It's something that I look into and I study. Now, if you ask me anything about medicine, I don't have the answers for you. I know nothing about medicine. I know a little bit about psychiatric issues because I suffer with depression, anxiety, but I certainly am not somebody who would say that I'm an expert in that. If you ask me for legal advice, I can't give you legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. Now, my father, who's retired, is a lawyer. He's a retired lawyer. He can give you legal advice. I can't. So I know how to stay in my lane. Now, I have a few lanes. I never bought into the well-rounded thing. If you put me on Jeopardy, I lose all the time because I don't know 17th century literature. I don't know famous poets. I don't know history from the 1800s. I don't. It just didn't interest me. There are some people who want to know a lot about or a little bit about a lot or a lot about a little bit. I fall into the category of I want to learn a lot about a little bit. And that works for me. If that's not you, there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay. So I think we have a comment for Facebook. Sure, let's take that. Ah, Steven, good friend of mine, Steven Di Bonaventura. Hey, Steven, how are you? Thanks for joining the show. Great guy, great lawyer. So if you ever need legal advice, reach out to me. I could always send you towards Steven. Great guy, great banjo player. Um, I remember at his wedding, he and his wife Tracy, who I knew her first. I met her at work. We worked together. They played the banjo. It was really cool. It was they played all night. We were at their house. Beautiful house, and the wedding was wonderful. And Steve played the banjo. So Steve, thanks for joining in. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. But even Steve, I mean, think about somebody like that, accomplished lawyer. I mean, he's just amazing. A great musician. I mean, you'd be amazed what he could do with the banjo. Great father. He's got 3 kids, a wonderful son, 2 daughters that are twins. Fantastic father. You don't think Steve ever has moments where he feels vulnerable or feels like he's down or feels like, how am I going to do this, or how am I going to do that, or how am I going to pay for this, or whatever it might be. Or, maybe there's a case coming up that he's worried about. How are we going to win this case? We got problems. I got to figure this out. We all go through that. We all go through that. That's a normal human thing. We got to let each other be normal. So these ideas that these Stoics, and the Stoics go back to like the 1600s, I think it is. And then they talk about, you got, if you really want people to be impressed with you, you have to be confident. You can't show weakness. And it's okay. It's okay to have weaknesses. It's not okay to stay weak. That's the issue. And I hope people get that. I hope people understand that. So, yeah, these are experts on Stoicism, and I understand where they're coming from. Is it more attractive to find somebody who's like Fonzie from Happy Days that can take care of everything and snap his fingers and make things work? Sure. Look for that person in real life. Where are you going to find that person? Who could slam their fist on a jukebox and make it work? You can find somebody who can do that. I don't think you can. And we're asking people, men and women, to do those things, and it's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. There are some things that I do listen to that I do believe. I think strength is important. I think strength is important, but it doesn't mean you're strong all the time. If I have 104 fever, I can't bench press over 300 pounds. I can't. If I'm sick, if I had COVID and you put me in the gym and said, all right, bench 325, there's no way. It's not going to go up. I'm not going to be able to get it off the rack. But if I'm healthy and I'm feeling good, yeah, I'll be able to throw it up. So Dr. JACALYN asks, what about when you were vulnerable with someone and they use it against you? That's unfortunate. That's really, really unfortunate when people use it against you. Because it's not a weakness. It's human. That's what humans are. We're a mix. We're good and we're bad. I'm generally a good person. Do I ever do things that are not good, that are not nice? Yeah. Yeah. Do I ever lose my temper and say things that I shouldn't say, that I look back and say, gee, I wish I wouldn't have said that. I wish I would have kept my mouth shut. Or I wish I didn't uh, you know, give that person the finger when they cut me off, or I wish I didn't beep the horn, or I'm not talking about something like now. Again, there are levels of what isn't nice and what's dramatically horrible. I'm not a murderer. It's not like I've killed somebody or attacked someone. I mean, to be honest with you, when I played hockey, yes, I did fight. I up until my last fist fight was at 22 years old. It's the last time I had a fist fight. I'll be 50 in 11 days. So that's a lot of time. So if I was a violent person, I would have been in a fist fight by now. Now, with that said, if somebody attacked my family, if I'm walking down in Philadelphia with my kids and somebody jumps out and attacks us, am I going to be violent with them? Absolutely. Am I going to be uh, feel bad about that? Am I going to feel like I've done something wrong? No, not at all. Or if I'm attacked by myself, I'm I'm going to fight back. I'm not a pushover. I'm not somebody who's going to take a slap in the face and not slap you back. But um, I'll do everything I can to avoid it. If I can walk away, run away, fine. If I can't, well, then we've got a problem. I hope I come out on top. And if I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. But um, we gotta just look at the whole picture of people. And then there's the other thing. There are people who are horrible, horrible people who could do good things. From what I've read, Hitler was good to dogs. He loved dogs, or his dog at least. He treated his dog nicely, if you want to use proper English. He treated his dog nicely. He was good to his dog. He fed him well and took care of him and loved them. And that's great. He killed 6 million Jews. Does being nice to a dog make him a good person based on the fact that that was one good quality he had when he had a quality that was unbelievably horrific? One of the most heinous people, if not the most heinous person who's ever walked the planet Earth? Are we going to say, well, he was good to dogs, so, well, let's cut him some slack? Absolutely not. No slack. He's a horrible person. And anybody who would argue that, I wouldn't even argue with you. I would tell you, you're wrong. You can't kill 6 million people and be a good person. It just can't happen. So bad people can do good things. That doesn't make them good people. And good people can do not so good things and still be good people. We all have foibles. We all have things that we screw up on. We all have things that we wish we could take back. We all have things that we say, if I could do that over again, I would. In the 70s, spanking was the thing to do with your kids, right? And I think most people who grew up in the 70s got spanked. Certainly in the 60s and the 50s, no doubt about it. In the 50s, they usually used a belt or a strap, right? But we learned over time that we don't do that. That spanking is not the answer. That's not the way to correct the kids. That you can correct kids without spanking. Now, I have 2 kids on the honor roll. Now, am I proud of that? Sure. Am I telling you that to brag? No. I'm telling you that because I have 2 kids who are good kids. Do they do things that are sometimes I have to correct them or Amy has to correct them? Sure. But generally, they're on the honor roll. They're good kids. Obviously, if they're on the honor roll, they get great grades. They play sports. They're very good at sports. I have never once, not one time, ever, and I mean never, struck them. Not once. Never a spanking. I never pulled their hair. I never did anything remotely like corporal punishment was back in 70s, even the 80s, probably going back to the 50s and 60s. I mean, that was what you did. But we learned that that's not the answer. That just teaches the kids that the bigger person, the stronger person, has dominance. It's not a deterrent. It's not, and plus, it's not good for their self-esteem. Now, am I implicating all parents who spank? No, because they didn't know. They thought at the time they were doing the right thing, so they did it, and they thought that was what was best. But we've learned better, so we do better, and I believe that. Now, are there some people who are going to disagree with me? Sure, there are going to be people listening. They're going to say, "No, I think spanking is the only way to go." That's your decision as a parent, but if you, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of experts, that's not the way to go. So, again, we got to decide what we're going to do and how we're going to be. But my point is that I have really, really good kids that never get in trouble. Not one detention. And think about that. 2 kids, not one detention between the 2 of them ever. Not one time did a teacher call home and say, your kids are a problem. Or not one time was there a meeting where they said, your kid is interrupting the class. Your kid is not doing their homework. Your kid is a trouble child. Never. And did I have to hit them to do it? No, I didn't have to hit them. We just taught them the right things to do. And I give Amy credit on that as well. I mean, look, it's hard when you're in a relationship that's ending. It's sad. It hurts. It hurts her. It hurts me. It hurts the kids. It hurts my parents. It hurts her parents. It hurts everybody involved. It's not an easy thing, but I could look in the mirror, and Amy could look in the mirror and say that we were good parents and we raised two good kids. Now we're not done with Rebecca. She's 13, but we'll still co-parent her, and I'm sure that we'll do our best to be the best parents we can be, no matter what. Um, and that's what's important. That's what's important. Um, another thing, vulnerability. Um, I think that all of us are vulnerable about a lot of things, not just internally but externally, or looks too. Am I vulnerable a little bit about having gray in my beard? Yeah, I mean, I would like to have a full black beard again. I mean, I wish I could turn back the clock a little bit, and in some ways, I have. I've done it in the gym. I can't do it with my hair, the hair on top of my head. The Some of it's not there anymore. I can't do anything about that. I don't have control over that. I control what I can control. That's part of the stoicism as well, as you control what you can control. There are things that you can't control. I can't control that my uncle passed away three weeks ago. I can't do a thing about it. I can't change it. I can't go back. I can't fix it. Can I cry about it? Yeah. Do I cry about it once in a while still? Yeah. It's still fresh. Do I cry for 24 hours? No. No. I go and do something. I get out of it. It's staying down. That's the problem. It's not going down. It's staying down. What's that whole Rocky speech that he gave in Rocky Balboa about nobody hits harder than life, and life will put you on your knees and keep you there if you let it. And you got to fight back, and that's what you got to do. And if you think that there is anybody that's watching this, not watching this on Earth, there have been 117 billion people who have walked the face of the Earth. That's right. 117 billion people have been on Earth. And only one has been perfect. If you believe in Christ, only one was perfect. So all the rest have faults. All the rest have uh, not just sin, but things that they could be better at, things that they can improve on, things that they can use to make people feel better. The way they treat people. Athletes, some athletes are great. You go to an athlete and they have that swagger about them, and that, sure, I mean, that's impressive, right? I mean, that's something people like. They good looking athlete, it's signing autographs and stuff. And then you come across some athletes, same thing, good looking athlete, well accomplished, superstar, and a complete jerk. And you know what? The looks and the accolades and all of the accomplishments on the field doesn't mean a thing. I've been with celebrities before. I'm not a celebrity. I've been lucky. I've been lucky to be around some really good celebrities, local and otherwise. And most of them, I would say probably like 90% of them, have been good people. Some of them have been better than others. Some of them were just kind of nice. Some of them were really nice, and some of them were over the top nice. Like, I won't mention the name, but one, when I was going through some stuff, had a long conversation with me on the phone for an hour. This is a person who hangs out with people like Wayne Gretzky and other NHL superstars. Not just the Miriglianis, Mario Lemieux, Wayne Gretzky's, Bobby Orr's, those types of people. And this person talked to me for an hour, took an hour of his time, hung up the phone after we were done. I walked away. The phone rings about 5 minutes later. It's him again. And he said to me, would you mind if we prayed together? Who does that? I mean, what kind of human being is that? I mean, that's a special person. He literally called back after 5 minutes and asked me to pray with him. And he prayed with me for another 5 minutes after talking to me for an hour. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do that. He did it because of who he is. And that's touching to me. He told me about his own vulnerabilities. Other people, I don't know if this is a gift or if this is just the way people see it. I, there's something about me, and I don't know what it is, and I wish I could put my finger on it because then I would be able to understand it. But I meet people, and they almost instantly start telling me like very detailed things about their life. I remember so many of them. Um, I honestly, and I'm not trying to brag or say that I'm some sort of special person, but they'll I don't know if they just notice if there's some vibe that I give off or whatever, but they'll tell me things that and I think in my own head, like, did they really want to tell me this? Did they really want to say these things? I'm willing to listen, but I don't know why. I don't know why they feel so comfortable. I'm not sure. I doubt myself. I think, what is going on here? How do they feel that way? I met a coworker one time. This is back probably in maybe 2000, 2001, probably 2001. And we met that day. And he said, "Hey, you want to stop at the bar after we teach our class?" We were co-teaching. I said, "Yeah, sure. No problem." So we stopped at the bar and we're sitting there. And he's spilling his guts. I mean, he's telling me everything about his life, like intimate details about his life. I wasn't upset by it. I wasn't put off by it. I was happy to listen. I was happy that he felt comfortable in my presence to be able to do that. That made me feel good. I made him feel good. So, I think it's important. Look who's back. Rachel's back. I love it. I love it, Rachel. Rachel's got some comments. So let's see what Rachel says. Hello, I'm actually learning to be less stoic and more vulnerable. Okay. I've been referred to as heartless with no feeling. Well, I can tell you from knowing you for probably 30 some years now that that's not true, but it isn't. Vulnerability is a characteristic of a great leader. I agree with you. I agree with you totally. You are not, and she likes the fact that I quoted Rocky. Okay. I knew she would. I knew she would. Rachel and I, if you've watched the show before, we've been friends for, God, it's got to be like 30 some years. I think I was 16 or 17 or something like that. She's about my age. So, we go back a long time. I remember we used to, with a buddy of ours, Jimmy. Jimmy was a close friend of mine in grade school. We would go to Rachel's house and she'd play records and we'd have the tapes ready. We make mixtapes, Rachel, Jimmy, and I, and we'd spend the whole night just playing like 80s music and making these tapes. It was just really fun. It was, one of those things. I still have some of them, Rachel. So someday we'll have to get together and go through that stuff. That'd be pretty cool to relive some of that. Um, but she's right. I mean, you know, and there's a woman's perspective, right? I mean, she's telling you that vulnerability can be attractive. It can be a sign of a great leader, and it can be, and it is. It's not that it can be. It is. I'll give you a couple other examples. I know we're running out of time, but it's endearing sometimes when you see somebody let their emotion show. I think. Like, did you ever see the interview with Dustin Hoffman? Dustin Hoffman did an interview where he talks about his role in Tootsie, the movie Tootsie. And he talks about how he looked at himself on screen as a woman. And he said to the people, the cosmetic people, or I guess the makeup artists, can you make me a beautiful woman? Because he said, yeah, I look like a woman, but I don't look like a beautiful woman. Can you make me a beautiful woman? And they told him, well, that's as good as it gets. You know, we that's it. So he went home that night, and he said he started to cry. And as he's telling the story, he starts crying again on camera during the interview. He's actually crying, can't even talk. He can barely speak. And he was trying to explain through his tears and through choking it back why he was crying. And the reason why he was crying, he said, he looked at the screen and he saw that character and he said, that character I would never talk to at a party, because she doesn't fulfill the he said physical demands that we're brought up to think women need for them, for us to ask them out, to take them out. And he was crying because he said, I missed out on knowing a lot of women over the years because I based everything on what they look like, and I didn't look on the inside as well. Now, granted, I do believe there has to be some physical attraction for there to be a relationship. I don't think you can fake that. I think that's something that it has to be. It has to be. Um, that can't be the only thing. That can't be the only thing. But what was endearing about it was that here's somebody who was so moved by what he feels he did, that unknown, those women didn't know that he hurt them. I mean, he didn't go up to them and say, look, I would never date you because I don't think you're attractive. He didn't do that. He just didn't talk to them because he didn't find them attractive. So he moved on and looked for somebody more attractive. So they didn't know, but he knew that he passed on them because they didn't meet what he thought was attractive. And that's what he was crying about. So to me, that's something endearing about Dustin Hoffman. I said, wow, what a guy, to be that sensitive and to be that sincere. That's a special person. That's somebody who is a well-accomplished actor, doesn't really need to show that vulnerability, but is willing to do it. So just to kind of wrap things up, yeah, stoicism is important. It's important to get knocked down and get back up again. It's important to be strong. It's important to be confident, because you're not going to go anywhere if you're not confident. You have to be confident. That's never going to be 100% of the time. So get it out of your mind now that you're always going to be confident, or that somebody you want to be with is going to be confident 100% of the time. So forget it. It's not possible. But it is possible to have bad days, or even bad weeks, or even a bad month, and get back up again and move forward and just keep going and plowing through. And that's what makes you strong. It's not feeling it, or pretending that you don't feel it. A generation before us, man, I mean, it would take like heaven and earth to get my grandfather to show tears. I saw him cry like 3 times in his whole life. You think he was a World War II veteran, tough as nails. Was a street brawler. I mean, this from Brooklyn. I mean, he was a man's man. I saw him cry maybe 3 times, and one was when my grandmother died, and the other was when she had to go to a home. So, you know, would I have thought less of him if I saw him cry more? No, no. I would still have the same respect for him that I have now. It wouldn't change anything. But he had moments of depression. He suffered with depression just like I do. He was still a man's man. He wasn't a weakling. He wasn't a cream puff. He was a tough guy who had bad moments. My uncle Bobby, my uncle Bobby, South Philly street tough. You don't want to mess with him. He was the kind of guy, not big, strong, and tough, and just a man's man. If an old school man's man, and he got cancer, and I saw him crying when he had cancer because he was suffering so much. And I was shocked out of my mind that this tough guy was crying. And I never thought I'd see the day that Uncle Bobby would cry because he was just so tough. I mean, he was the kind of guy that if you mess with his family, you were dead. I mean, he would kill you where you stand. He was, a good man, not a violent man, but if you hurt his family, if you did something I remember one time somebody attacked my aunt, his wife, on the street, and he reached in and pulled her. She was driving, and he reached in and pulled her hair, and tried to pull her out of the car. Well, Uncle Bobby jumped in his car after she got home and told him what happened, and he was driving around looking for him. And I'm glad he didn't find him, because he would have killed him. There's no doubt in my mind he would have either killed him, or he would have done serious damage. So that's the kind of guy he was. If you and I respect that. I think if when families are involved, violence is the last resort, I believe. But when there's violence involved, I get it. I get it. Being a family man myself, being a man myself. So, this is a guy you would never see cry. And when he got cancer and he was sick, he cried. I remember I wrote him a letter because we thought he was going to pass away one night. We were in the hospital, and it looked like he was not going to make it. They said he's probably not going to get off the operating table, and he did. And I wrote him a letter, and I told him about that night and what we went through. And a couple months later, he pulls me over and he whispers to me, because he was crying again the second time I saw him cry. And he said, "That was a hell of a letter. Thank you." And he couldn't even look at me. He wouldn't look at me. He just looked straight ahead, and he just said, "That was a hell of a letter." And he just kept saying that. He said, "Hell of a letter, hell of a letter, hell of a letter." And he wouldn't look at me, but I knew what he meant. And he grew 10 feet in my eyes there. Did I respect him before that? Did I think, man, I love how tough this guy is. I love what a man's man he is. Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. I looked up to him. Looked up to him even more after. Dr. Jackalyn said, my dad was a man's man, but would tear up when he talked about my mom and our family. I loved and respected his vulnerability. I never met Mr. KERBECK, but I wish I did, because he sounds like a great man. He sounds like the kind of person that is loving enough and man enough to know that it's okay to be vulnerable at times and know when not to be. There are times where you have to man up or woman up and say, look, it's time. It's time for me to do what needs to be done. I got to go to work. When I found out that I had to have my colon removed, I had 45 minutes to control myself, compose myself, and teach a full day class. I manned up. Was I still hurting? Sure. Was I scared to death? Yeah. I mean, I felt like I was in another body. I felt like I was in another world. I didn't know who I was. I mean, I'm facing this uncertain future. And in 45 minutes, I went from a complete basket case where I, flipped over the mattress and was pounding on the bed and crying hysterically, and just I tore my shirt off. I mean, I was just angry and sad and scared and every emotion you could think of. And then I pulled it together, and 45 minutes later, I said, "Man up, man! Go to work. Get your work done." I did it. I went through the surgery. I got out of the surgery, and I manned up. I did it. Or you can woman up. We don't man up anymore. Only we woman up and man up. So that's what I hope your takeaway is from this: is that, yeah, you could go down, you could hit the ground, but get up. Get up. And if you don't like people who are vulnerable, if you're looking for somebody who's not vulnerable, you're going to have a very disappointing life, because you're not going to find anyone worth their weight in gold if they don't have any vulnerability whatsoever. They're not worth it. They're not worth it, because then that means they just have no feelings, and that's not good. So as we wrap it up, we're going to play a little vignette of the charity hockey that we do. We have the charity hockey game coming up. There's me on LinkedIn. You come to me for training too. My business is actually training. I do corporate training, also individual training. I do computer training, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all the Microsoft applications, or at least most of them. Soft skills training as well. There's my website. I have a lot of really good clients that have been very good to me, and I would love to be a part of your company as well, or individually. If you're looking for a job and you need some skills, come to me. I'm a project management expert, passed all the classes for that. Can teach you soft skills, time management, conflict management, things like that. And come to me for that. And then the charity is the other one. That's the one coming up in August 23rd, 2025. And that's Checkmates Charitable Association. This is our website here with a little video of what we've done. We have some really great NHL players who are on board to come and join us. Subject to availability, there may be some that may not be able to make it. Just want to make sure that's clear, because some of them coach in the NHL. So they said they will make every intention to be there. And those names are some big names. Rod Brindamore for one, Mark Recchi for another, Brian Propp, another. So you're talking about some really big name hockey players. Todd Fedoruk, Doug Crossman. I know Kevin Dineen might be a part of it. So we're talking about, NHL royalty here. And a buffet afterwards with the players. They'll be signing autographs, 2-hour open bar, $70 a ticket. That's it. And I'm working on getting the tickets finished by this end of this week. So they'll go on sale. They make great Christmas gifts. If you want to come to the game only, you can. $25 get you the game only. But for $70, open bar and 2-hour buffet, and you get to meet the players, talk to them, sit with them. Can't beat it. Can't beat it. So definitely, if you can join us. I say this every show, 1,000 people in that rink. It fits 1,000. I want 1,000 in there, and I want 1,000 hugs at that rink. And then 700 people fit in the restaurant. I want 700 hugs in the restaurant. It's going to be a day of love, and a day of fun, and we're going to have a great time. So watch this little vignette, and then we'll end the show.
Hey everybody, I just want to tell you how thankful I am that you came out tonight and helped us out on a very special evening. Crohn's and colitis are terrible diseases, and they affect a lot of people, not only in the Delaware Valley, but all over the world. And hopefully we can find a cure someday.
Nolan here with you at the Checkmates versus the Flyers alumni. We had a great time this afternoon. Game was close, and we're all here for Checkmates Charities, which is the real reason that everybody's here, not only the players, but all the fans that were here. It was a great day, and we're really happy to be here.
It was fun to be out here at Northeast Skate Zone because the Checos were a pretty good team, and so we had a lot of fun with the charity.
And it was good because they took it easy on us old guys. So we had a good time. So anytime you can do something for charity, and I know a couple guys on the other team, and just to be on the rink, we all go have fun.
Good times go. I'm either gone in an instant or here to the bitter, and I never know what I got.
I want to thank my family for all that they did to help me get through this, and there's a lot of planning that get done. It has to get done. I want to thank Nick's Roast Beef and Common Avenue for all they've done. Dr. Creative for saving my life and finding the disease and treating me for so long. And the Flyers organization for all they do to help us raise money every year. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
So there you have it. That's what we're going to be doing that night. But some really big names, like I said, Rod Brindamore, Mark Recchi, Doug Crossman. I forgot about Doug Crossman. What a great guy he is. Played with him many times. Great guy. So we can't wait for that. Please be there. Please be a part of it. We need it. It's going to help people with inflammatory bowel disease and those with an ostomy. It's a very underfunded, overlooked group of people. People can buy tickets. They're going to be coming up soon. They're going to be on Eventbrite. I'm working on Eventbrite right now, and I'll have a link on my website, which is checkmatescharity.com, www.checkmatescharity.com, and they should be on sale probably by the end of this week. So if you want to buy them as Christmas gifts, that would be great. Again, 2-hour open bar. I mean, that alone is probably worth $70 per person, plus the buffet, and plus you get to be with all the players. Kerry Frazier is going to referee, the famous NHL referee. Joe Conklin is going to make an appearance, the sports comedian in Philadelphia. Lauren Hart is coming to the party afterwards. And we're talking about some big names here, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So it's not just the fun, though. It's going to help Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and Rolf Benershka, another celebrity you get to meet, who kicked in the NFL. He was an NFL All-Star or All-Pro kicker and NFL Man of the Year, 1983. He's going to be there, and part of the money goes to his charity, which is Embracing Ostomy Life. So great time for a great cause. So please be a part of it. Thank you for everybody who called in, for who said hello, Stephen and Rachel, as usual. We thank you, and the other folks who Viking Warrior 108 on Instagram, and there's one other person I want to thank, Sally James on Instagram. Thank you all for being a part of the show. Please join us next week, and we'll continue on with you as a whole, body, mind, and soul. Have a great week, everybody.